Morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Are there cracks starting to appear between the relationship with the one and only Peter Lawwell and Brendan Rodgers again? We'll remember back to 2019, 2018 when we failed to get John McGinn. And then that was the start of the downfall, the start of the breakup of the relationship between Brendan Rodgers and Peter Lawwell. That ended one way, and that was with the manager then allegedly jumping ship. But we all know that what actually happened was he told the board he would leave the next summer, and Lowell pushed him at the door as soon as he could get some money for him. Back in June, when Brendan Rodgers came in, Brendan Rodgers said about the recruitment team and obviously Lowell, it says, since I was here the last time, there's been a clear change of the infrastructure behind the football team. Mark has done a brilliant job with his recruitment, if you remember him saying that. You can see the club and the way that they're operating in the market has done a great job in bringing players in which fit the Celtic profile. And on the evidence last night, he came out last night and he said it's the overall quality. So just a few months later, just half a year later, not even half a year later, he's now saying that it's the quality. We need to have our very best players available going into this competition. We're being competitive, but what makes the difference is the bit of experience and genuine quality. The fact that we brought in so many project players in the summer is unbelievable. Everyone knew that we didn't need as many. Brendan Rodgers then went on to say this group has gained more experience and shown they can compete in some games, but we need to add quality. He says that's glaring thing that stands out with the January transfer window just weeks away. It is imperative that they get some players in that do have some serious quality to make sure that it makes us better going forward. Because let's face it, even if we're going to the Champions League next season again, if we win the league, we're not going to do any better. That's a certainty. Even Neil Lennon has been saying that under the manager. Now, everyone's going to start talking about this. They're going to talk about Brendan Ball and they're going to compare it to Postecoglou and Ange Ball. But even Neil Lennon is saying that Celtic are passing the ball slower under the new manager. Well, he's not new anymore because he's been here for half a year. So even on the front foot, the attacking play that we played under Postecoglou got plaudits the last couple of seasons, and they're still getting plaudits to a certain extent down south. But under Brendan Rodgers, the style of football hasn't been full flown, and it has to come down to the manager. Are the knives going to be out for the manager if we do not get the results that we need and require by the January split? I can see the fans starting to turn on the manager, which is unfortunate because it's not the manager that's at fault, if you ask me. This lies at the foot of the table, at the board. This lies right at the board, and that is it. That is it. I mean, I knew Facebook and my Instagram were full of people that were going to the game yesterday that travelled over. I met the guys at the airport that were heading over, and they're spending good money following Celtic. And people slate them. Now, never even mind talking about the nonsense that happened before with people trying to get into the game last night. That was completely ridiculous. The fact is that we got beat with two late goals. Neil Lennon has come out and said, you thought they've got their sort of bit between the teeth. I didn't see that with the draw against Motherwell. I didn't see that coming, to be honest. But recently, Celtic at home, it should have been a comfortable win. When you look at the Motherwell, and then when you go away in the Champions League, it's difficult. It is difficult. Under Ange, at least Celtic were playing a decent style of football. It's all nice playing nice football, but under Ange Postecoglou, we didn't get the results either. So the January transfer window, you would assume that Brendan Rodgers has got some money in the bank. Surely we could spend some of this 72 million that we have, and get some players in that can make us a bit better and push forward to win the league, because that is the most important thing between now and the end of the season, is obviously winning the league. And we need a big positive. Look, we're still the top of the table with 8 points. With the Sevconians have a couple of games in hand, I believe, but we need to keep on heading to that game on the 30th of December. We need to beat them, and we need to secure the 3 points and bring them back in the bag. Chris Sutton is another one that's been having a go. Chris Sutton delivers a verdict that Celtic just aren't good enough when it comes to. I mean, let's face it, Lazio are sitting 11th in the league in Italy. They've been getting absolutely slated by the Italian press. The Italian media are out for the manager, and the fact that Celtic crashed out to a 2-0 defeat late on, Rodgers' men were eliminated from Europe altogether. It's not been good enough when we look at the Champions League over the last 10 years. It's not been good enough when we were on the road to 9 in a row. The club didn't invest quick enough. Too many times they waited to see if we got qualification into the Champions League before trying to go into the transfer market. It's a strategy that was slated then. It's a strategy that's going to be slated now. And the fact is, it's the same people on the board now as was back then. So where do we go? Because we can't keep changing managers, and we can't keep expecting different people to do the same thing and expect different results. It's you can't keep doing the same thing year in, year out. You can put someone else in charge and you can change tactics, you can change the way that they play slightly, but when it comes to it, it is just not good enough. And it's time the board stop slapping themselves on the back and stop trying to divide the fans. And Chris Sutton even said, he says, look, they are bang average. That Italian team last night were bang average. He reckons his old club lacked any real belief and physicality in their quest to pick up 3 points in Rome. Physicality, because we're using a lot of younger players that are project players. Chris Sutton was reacting, says, in a tweet, he says, predictably, disappointing night. Predictably, a disappointing night. Can't get away from it. The Champions League, as groups goes, it was a gentle one. 1 point from 5 games in this group is not good enough. If you remember the excitement when we did the live, when the Champions League draw was done, I was over the moon with this. It was one of the easiest draws on paper that we've had in a long time. We'd beat Lazio home and away a couple of years ago. You know, we'd got some decent results where we thought, right, we can maybe do something in this group. You know, it wasn't as hard as the group as last year. But when you go to Atletico Madrid, you knew you were up against it. They're up fighting for La Liga. When it looked at the other two teams, when you look at Feyenoord and then you look at Lazio, you're like, okay, right, we can maybe get a result at home. We didn't get the results at home. We didn't get a result anywhere. We managed to get one draw. And it's just not good enough. It is not good enough. And it comes down to one thing, and it's recruitment. Unfortunately. Now, you can blame the manager and say, but the manager signs it off. You know, the manager gets told, he says, right, this is the players. And he's either got to accept them. And if he doesn't accept the players, the board will go, right, out you go. The fact that it was our owner that made the phone call to bring Brendan back, has the rift been just washed over? Or is there still a rift between Lawwell and the manager? Tell me what you think in the comments. Chris Sutton having a go at the club, saying we want to finish high, we want to finish on the front foot in front of our own supporters, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're out of Europe already. The last game is just going to be a kickabout. The Brendon Rodgers will probably bring in players just to give them a bit of game time and a bit of experience, which defeats the purpose. Although people will say you need to give these players the experience. You need to give. So for that, it'll be a good test, but when it comes to it, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. Anyway, Brendon Rodgers, he is demanding quality signings after the Celtic's European exit. He changed his tune last night. And with that being said, Celtic have been linked with a 4 million Portuguese winger in January. A 4 million Portuguese winger. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine that? Another Portuguese winger, but we let one. We let one go. So to me, that says there's absolutely no chance of Jota. The fact that at the AGM, when he was asked about bringing Jota back, he turned it around and said, I'll ask Michael nicely. We're not bringing Jota back. There's not a chance that this club will bring Jota back. Brendan Rodgers has admitted he desperately needed to add more quality to his squad after the defeat last night. On that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.